Today's Cowboys Report was going to be some surprise cut candidates, and we'll get to that, but there is some unfortunate, potentially bad news for the Dallas Cowboys. Gerald McCoy was injured today at practice, suffering an apparent right leg injury. He was working with Antoine Woods in individual drills. McCoy was the one blocking. Antoine Woods was getting some reps in there. What happened was McCoy fell awkwardly in that process, landed on his back leg. He was able to stand back up, but then had to be helped off the field. He wasn't able to walk off under his own power. As of right now, we do not yet know the severity in terms of just how bad this is for Gerald McCoy. We might not know for a little bit here. At some point, of course, we'll find out those details and we'll update you guys. But as of right now, it's a question mark, and it is a concerning one for the Dallas Cowboys. They brought in McCoy to handle the three-tech role. Mike McCarthy had just spent part of his press conference this morning talking about how excited he was about Gerald McCoy, heaping praise upon the veteran defensive lineman, the Cowboys signed to a 3-year deal worth a little bit under $18 million this past season. Now his status for 2020 is certainly unclear. That is concerning. If he's able to play, we're not quite sure what it's going to look like there. I'm not sure exactly if it means, hey, maybe they go sign a Snacks Harrison. He's a 3 technique. You probably just end up rolling more with likes of Gallimore and Trysten Hill and Tyrone Crawford and even Dalton Smith, by the way, playing some interior defensive line. So that is concerning for the Cowboys. We just don't yet know what that exact severity is. So what is your panic level at right now with Gerald McCoy? Rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you think there's nothing to be concerned about at all. 10 being you are hyperventilating and the season is over. I'm going to give it a 5 right now because, well, I just don't yet know exactly what the issue is for Gerald McCoy. This will be the pinned comment, so get your votes in right there. Now, we will get to some potential surprise roster cuts for the Dallas Cowboys. Before we do that, reminder, if you're going to a Cowboys game this year, you have to wear a face covering. You can get a whole bunch of them at chatsports.com/Cowboys Mask. That is chatsports.com/Cowboys Mask. That link will be in the comments and it will be in the description. So if you don't have one, or if you need some more variety, if you want to rep some America's Team-themed one, well, go check it out. Again, that link is in the comments and it's in the description. Now, as we dive into the surprise cut candidates, an important reminder, especially in light of Gerald McCoy. This assumes everyone's healthy. If there are injuries, well, that changes who could be a surprise cut. So Tristan Hill, if everyone is healthy on that defensive line, I think he's in trouble. He was a bust last year. There is a new staff in place, and I'm not saying to cut any of these guys right now. No, this is a potential cut after training camp in all likelihood. Hill was bad last year. There's no way around it. He's also still very young. He's still developing. He's still growing. I think Jim Tomsula could be good for him, but there's a numbers game here at defensive tackle. How many guys do you want to carry? If McCoy and Poe and Crawford and Gallimore and Woods are all healthy, shoot, that's 5 already. You ain't going 6 deep at defensive tackle. Now, maybe you can argue Tyrone Crawford makes list at defensive end, who we'll talk about here in just a second, but we'll also talk about another defensive end logjam going on. So I'm not sure Tristan Hill makes this team. Maybe you try and get aggressive and sneak him down to the practice squad. For the purposes of this question, this does not count as a practice squad option. Type 1 for yes, type 0 for no. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. This is surprise cut candidates. And I know we've talked a lot about Tyrone Crawford, but I think that he would still qualify as a true surprise cut. Not on the same scale as, the Dan Bailey year, but I think this would indeed still qualify. So I'm curious to see what ends up happening with Crawford. There is a lot of money to be saved here. $8 million if he ends up being released. So the money savings aside, that's intriguing, but you also want Tyrone Crawford out there on that team. You frankly need him out there on that roster. He can play both defensive tackle and he can play defensive end. I think you'll see him doing a little bit of both things this year. Passing downs, he might be on the interior. He's never going to be a legitimate, crazy impact 8-sack, 10-sack a year guy. That's just not who he is. But he does the dirty work so well. Now, yes, I would absolutely approach him about a pay cut. That is something I would pursue, especially after the Cowboys went out and added Everson Griffin. If I can get his cap hit down from 9 to like 4 or 5, I feel really good about having Tyrone Crawford on this team. But because you want depth, because you need and crave that flexibility, and you need someone who can do that dirty work and do it well, I lean towards keeping Tyrone Crawford. But the money savings, that cap savings of $8 million with an uncertain cap in the future, that is significant. And if you want to move on from Tyrone Crawford, I understand where you're coming from. So get your votes in for me down there in the comments section. Do you want to keep him? Type K for keep. Do you want to cut him? Type C for cut. I think you can go either direction. I lean a little bit more towards keep, but try really hard to get that pay cut. Let's move now to Darius Armstrong. Again, I mentioned the log jam on the defensive line. If everyone's healthy, you have the same issues here at the defensive end spot. Darius Armstrong, of all the players on this roster, I thought might have been hit in the most negative sense, if there is one, from the addition of Everson Griffin. Armstrong simply has not made an impact in his first 2 years. I know the Cowboys liked him coming out of Kansas, but even despite some chances, hasn't actually done all that much. And if you look at the defensive end depth chart, right? You've obviously got Tank and Griffin. Crawford will play both. I think we'll even see Alden Smith get some interior defensive line reps. But that's 4 guys already. Let's say hypothetically you carry 4 defensive tackles, not even including Tristan Hill right now. Is Armstrong going to be your 9th guy in that scenario? But what about Bradley and I? That could be number 9 right there. You could go 5 and 5, DT's defensive ends. All of a sudden, if you're keeping Bradley and I, who I would keep over Darius Armstrong, well, he might be the odd man out. So you might have a scenario, if everyone stays healthy throughout camp, that you can only keep one of these guys. So who would it be? Type DA for Darius Armstrong, BA for Bradley and I, JJ for Joe Jackson because, well, they already released Jalen Jelks instead. Let's go to offense here where I don't see a lot of great surprise cut candidates, but I will mention Devin Smith. He was a backup last season, played in 4 games, had that awesome showing against the Redskins, and then was a complete non-factor the rest of the way. Had the one cool game, showed up a little bit in week 3 as well, and then had 1 target for the final games over the rest of the season. He wasn't a factor at all. He does bring you speed, and maybe he's your wide receiver 4. I'm not convinced that's actually the case. You have to bring more than speed. If you just want a speedy guy, you go with John Vay Johnson because he's younger and cheaper. So Devin Smith, I like him. There's a chance he makes his team, of course, but I think he qualifies as a surprise cut since he made the team last season. As a reminder, these Cowboys face masks are still available at chatsports.com/Cowboys Mask. They've got the individuals, but if you want to get the most bang for your buck, get the multi-packs. They come in upwards of packs of 4. So go check them out. A ton of different looks and variety and styles so you can truly make it a one-day use and then watch them for yourselves. Chatsports.com/Cowboys Mask. Once again, folks, the link is in the comments and it's in the description. Please do it. Cut the punter, Chris Jones. They haven't brought in any competition. He qualifies as a surprise cut at this point. You guys who have watched the show, if you've been subscribed for a while now, you know my feelings on Chris Jones. He used to be really, really good. Had that cool play against the Detroit Lions when he absolutely rocked that guy. The guy we've seen in the past 3 years has not been good. He has been a bottom 10 average punter. The Cowboys special teams unit has been terrible, and you can save nearly $2 million by cutting him, which means if you have the statistically worst punter in the NFL, you can find that guy for the vet min. Why would you pay him more than what you have to? So, Chris Jones, look, I know he did some good stuff. I say cut him. I think it is time to move on. Let him go. Go find somebody else. So get your votes in. Do you want to cut the punter, Chris Jones? Type Y for yes or type N for no. We'll go with another more recent draft pick who has been on the roster for 2 straight years. That is Dalton Schultz to round things out here. Former 4th-round pick who, with the return of Jason Witten, didn't get on the field very much last year. Now, he didn't play much as a first-year guy either back in 2018. 12 receptions, over 100 yards. Last year, 2 targets. Now, look, he was behind Witten, he was behind Jarwin, he was the 3rd tight end. There was no role for him. But there is a scenario in which Blake Bell earns that number 2 tight end role, and a new coaching staff goes, you know what, we're not impressed by Dalton Schultz. We'll keep one of those undrafted free agents, Sean McKeon out of Michigan, or Charlie T out of Portland State, and maybe they go with Shewa Olanalua, and then Schultz gets cut and maybe makes it to the practice squad. I would be a bit surprised by it. He did make my 53-man roster prediction, but I think that is worth monitoring if you are the Dallas Cowboys, the future of Dalton Schultz and all that. Not a great year for surprise cuts. I think Jalen Jelks getting cut a couple days ago was a significant surprise with the timing there. If I didn't mention a potential cut, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.